All right, welcome back to Newsmax Now. I am Bill Tucker. With me the entire 2 hours today is Tom Borelli. He is a Newsmax insider. He's a conservative activist, and he has a PhD in biochemistry, so don't argue science with this guy, okay? Campus Reform reported on a story this week about a math education professor, Lori Rubel. She works at the Brooklyn College, one of the CUNY you can't make up. But I just want to point out, and I know Cabot's aware of this, not only was the CUNY professor doing this, out at the University of Illinois, there was another woman, Rochelle Gutierrez, who also said math is the tool of whiteness in white power. So here to have some fun and explain what's going wrong with the world is Cabot. What the heck is going on, dude?
I think you could cut it off there and it would just be a punchline all on its own. It's a joke almost, but they're completely serious. And we've covered all year how all these professors, they come up with any excuse they can to blame everything on white people, to say that everything is racist. We've seen professors say the cat in the hat is inherently racist and white marble statues throughout history are racist. And now it's meritocracy, which is the most ironic statement because she doesn't realize that her statement is racist.
That's a totally racist statement.
She's essentially saying that any system that holds people up based on merit, based on their own personal qualifications, will put non-white people at a disadvantage. That's racist. How is it? And the only system that's truly colorblind is a meritocracy, one where people are judged based on their merit, their qualifications, their special skills. And this is a taxpayer-funded institution where this is being taught. And it's a math class. What does this have to do with math?
That was my concern. Yeah. Sociologists would come up with something like that. All right, but math. I mean, no pun intended. It's black and white. I mean, 2 and 2 is 4. It doesn't matter who does the calculation.
Absolutely, and sadly, it's something we see where if you took this class and replaced the word whiteness with any religion, race, or other sexual orientation, anything else. There would be students literally rioting on campus. We've seen students riot for a lot less. And they'd be justified in their anger because it's absurd to say something like that. But again, it's a trend we see. We see other colleges teaching entire classes. There's a University of Florida had a new class this semester literally called The Problem of White Racism. And the whole class was a history of white racism throughout time. And it's a problem, and it's taxpayer money. If people knew where their money was going and what it was funding on college campuses, I think they'd be more upset.
Well, no, it's deeply upsetting on all kinds of levels. First of all, it's most infuriating to me because that is just straight up naked racism. That is, and it's like, I don't know why people can't see it so clearly for that. Second, what do these people do with sports? Are we supposed to take the better athletes, handicap them, make them run slower, put weights on them? That is the point of meritocracy, right?
I think a lot of these students are going to graduate thinking that there's a warped view of what the world looks like and how it works. And they're going to graduate thinking, well, we're going to really judge people in society based on the color of their skin, not on their character. As MLK said, the content of their character is how people should be judged. And so it's not preparing them for the real world. And another class we had, there was a professor that was teaching, that was removing white authors throughout history because the class was too focused on white literature from Europe. And so they were replacing it with authors of different backgrounds, different races, and not based on their work, but just based on their color. It's inherently racist.
No, it's one thing to put it. I'm trying to remember. I was sitting here trying to remember. There was here in New York City, up at Columbia University, the students stormed a building, and I'm trying to remember I want to say it was Shakespeare, but I don't think that was right. But they removed. It may have been Shakespeare. They removed it because it was like just another example of white superiority and white supremacy. Not again acknowledging that this is one of the most important people in literature in the Western civilization and the history of the Western civilization.
And I think it's important that no one on our side is trying to erase the fact that there has been racism and there still is racism in the United States. And it's important to label actual racism for what it is so we can combat it and eradicate it. But when you label everything racist, at that point nothing is racist because you've diluted the term to the point where students can't determine what is actually racism and what's not if you just throw the term around. That's a serious thing to throw around. And when it comes to history classes, pulling people like Shakespeare out because they may have been racist or we see the new trend.
They were racist, they happen to be white.
Yeah, and we see the new trend now of tearing statues down. We saw at George Washington University, there were students actually trying to get the name of the school changed because George Washington owned slaves. And I think it's important to look at history through the lens of these were flawed men and women who may have done bad things, but important to learn what we can from them and also appreciate how groundbreaking many of them were. And when it comes to history, view it through that lens. Don't view it through the lens of they did one horrible thing, we must completely erase them from our history. It's not a true historical approach.
Any idea why this is happening now as opposed to 20 years ago, whatever? We had a black president of the United States, Oprah Winfrey, who may run for president, is a billionaire. I mean, it doesn't match reality.
I think a lot of the reason we're seeing it now, specifically on college campuses, is because there's no accountability, where you have this social justice warrior mentality where so many people on college campuses, they just want to, I like call it the hierarchy of oppression on college campuses, where students and professors and ministers want to claim offense to as many things as they can.
It's like some kind of weird competition that I don't want to be a part of.
And I think that's what it stems from.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Cabot, it's great. Seeing you over Skype, never in the studio. Thanks for being here and coming back. Tom and I are going to talk about Meghan McCain's heated exchange with Michael Wolff. That right after this break.